Yeah. Which one? Which one my daddy cleats should I wear? 93s, 96s. I don't know. Decision.
They claimed a football player couldn't move merchandise like a rapper. The buzz has definitely died down. They claimed the moment had slipped away. Shedeur Sanders just took over the Nike Signers app and turned all that chatter into mere background noise. Breaking news comes in hot. The birthday drop has officially become the most significant release of the year.
Yeah, zoom in.
These right here won't last 5 minutes.
Okay.
21,000. If they ain't sold in 5 minutes, I'm giving you your money back.
Bro, the news just dropped and I genuinely had to read it twice to make sure I wasn't tripping. Shedeur Sanders quietly signed a secret $100 million deal with Nike and didn't say a single word to the media. Not a press conference, not a statement, not even a story on Instagram. Just silence. And that silence, that's louder than anything he could have said. Because while every critic, every analyst, every keyboard warrior who spent the last 12 months telling you Shedeur wasn't worth the hype was busy cooking up their next hot take, Nike, the most powerful brand in sports history, just wrote him a 9-figure check. So tell me, who's shutting down who right now?
Or they throw you some stuff that you're not expecting, basically trying to get a reaction out of you. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because everybody has been talking about the Raiders last week. First time a Browns rookie wins in his first start in like 15, 20 years, whatever it was, a long time. And then, of course, he's been named the starter for the next game. And of course, you're going to get your questions because now you number one.
All right, let's get into this properly, because I need you to understand the full weight of what just happened here. This isn't just some sneaker deal. This isn't just some endorsement where a brand throws money at a young athlete to put their logo on a pair of cleats and call it a day. $100 million from Nike for a player who hasn't even completed his first full regular season yet is a statement, a deliberate, calculated, loud statement. And the most fascinating part of the whole thing is how quiet Shedeur kept it while it was happening. Think about that for a second. In an era where every athlete, every influencer, every public figure is sprinting to social media the moment anything significant happens in their life, Shedeur Sanders sat on a 9-figure Nike contract and said absolutely nothing. No leaks, no cryptic posts, no teammate accidentally mentioning it in a podcast, nothing. It just quietly surfaced through industry sources, and by the time the internet caught wind of it, the ink had been dry for weeks. That kind of discipline, that kind of control over your own narrative, that's not something you teach. That's something you either have or you don't. And let's be real, that's always been the thing about Shedeur that his critics fundamentally misunderstood. They looked at his social media presence, the fits, the watches, the confidence, and they wrote him off as a guy who was more interested in the lifestyle than the grind. They said the brand was bigger than the substance. They questioned whether he had the focus and the maturity to translate all that swagger into actual NFL production. Some of these analysts were practically building their entire platforms on the prediction that Shedeur Sanders was going to flame out under the pressure of professional football. But wait, because here's where the story gets really good. Nike doesn't write $100 million checks based on vibes. Nike doesn't sign 9-figure deals with athletes because they think the guy has a nice Instagram feed. Nike is a business, one of the most ruthlessly data-driven, market research-obsessed businesses on the planet. When Nike's internal team sits down to evaluate a potential signature athlete at this level, they're looking at everything: brand reach, market demographics, cultural resonance, long-term earning potential, on-field performance trajectory, and the kind of intangible star power that you simply cannot manufacture. And after looking at all of that, all of the data, all of the analysis, all of the projections, they landed on Shedeur Sanders as their guy. Not maybe, not let's see how year one goes. $100 million says Nike is all in. And the beautiful irony here is that the same critics who spent months questioning his legitimacy essentially handed him the perfect revenge moment without even realizing it. Because now, every single hot take, every he's overrated segment, every dismissive draft analysis exists permanently on the internet, right next to the headline that reads, Nike signs Shedeur Sanders to $100 million deal.
Down immediately. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Shedeur, not from you, but all your supporters out there say that Kevin Stefanski was sabotaging you.
So you just want to start trouble, huh?
No, I want to ask you what your relationship with him is.
Yeah, well, what people do outside the building isn't really in my control. It's not in my power, so...
Now, I want to talk about what this deal actually means strategically, because this goes way beyond the dollar amount, and I don't think enough people are connecting the dots here. Nike already has Patrick Mahomes. They have LeBron. Historically, they've had Jordan, Kobe, Tiger. These are the kinds of athletes Nike builds entire product lines around, entire cultural campaigns around, entire decades of brand identity around. That's the tier they're placing Shedeur Sanders in with this commitment. They're not signing him to be a supporting character in someone else's story. They're signing him to eventually be the face of a generation. That's a different conversation entirely. And think about the timing here. The NFL is at a fascinating crossroads right now. The old guard of quarterbacks, the guys who've dominated the league for the last decade and a half, are in the final chapters of their careers. And behind them, there's this massive question mark about who becomes the next transcendent face of the sport. Not just a good quarterback, not just a consistent starter, the guy. The quarterback who makes casual fans tune in specifically because he's playing. Nike just cast their vote, and they voted for Shedeur. But here's the thing I really need y'all to hear, because I know there are still some skeptics watching this right now, probably getting ready to type in the comments about how it's all hype, and I want to give those concerns a fair shake before I come back at them. Look, the legitimate criticism of Shedeur has always been about the pressure of the NFL stage. College football, even at the level he was performing, is a different animal from going up against elite NFL defenses week after week. The margin for error shrinks dramatically. The speed of the game is different. The complexity of the schemes he'll face is different. And there's a real fair question about whether any rookie, regardless of how much hype surrounds them, can step into that environment and immediately perform at the level the hype suggests. That's a fair conversation. I'm not going to dismiss that. But here's what those same skeptics keep glossing over. Shedeur Sanders was performing at an elite level against a national spotlight, under constant media pressure, carrying the weight of his father's legacy, and managing a growing personal brand, simultaneously. For most people, one of those things would be overwhelming. He was handling all of it at the same time, and not just surviving, thriving. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because the mental makeup is genuinely different. And Nike saw that. That's exactly what Nike paid for. Not just the arm talent, not just the completion percentage, though those numbers are real and they're impressive. They paid for the mental architecture of a guy who performs bigger when the stakes get higher, because that's the guy you build a brand around for the next 15 years. That's the guy whose signature shoe you release on the day of a championship game, because you know he's going to deliver a moment that makes everyone want to own that shoe. Nike does not make mistakes at this level. They just don't. Now here's something else nobody's really talking about in the coverage of this deal. The fact that it stayed secret for as long as it did tells you something massive about the team around Shedeur. His management, his inner circle, these people operate with a level of professionalism and discipline that is genuinely rare in the modern sports landscape where everything leaks. In an industry where agents talk, assistants talk, brand representatives talk, Shedeur's camp kept a 9-figure Nike deal completely under wraps until they were ready for it to come out. That's not luck. That's infrastructure. That's a young man who has surrounded himself with the right people and built an operation that can handle the weight of a career at this scale.
You got some responsibilities and you got to answer some questions, but there's always one in the pack. There's always somebody that's trying to trip you up. There's always somebody that's trying to hit you, make you, cross the tripwire and blow you up. But props to Shedeur for locating that tripwire before he hit it. And he put this reporter in his place.
And that should scare every team in the NFL that's not currently playing for Shedeur Sanders. Because the guy isn't just talented, he's organized, he's strategic. He has the kind of off-field operation that usually takes athletes a decade to figure out, and he had it dialed in before his rookie season even started. That's generational thinking, bro. That's operating on a timeline that most athletes never even reach. And that quote right there, that's the whole story. The work speaks. It always speaks. That's not a line from a PR team. That's a young man who has genuinely internalized a level of self-belief that no amount of outside criticism can penetrate. You want to question his draft stock? He signs with Nike for $100 million. You want to say he can't handle the NFL spotlight? He keeps a 9-figure deal secret for weeks while you're out here making noise. You want to say the brand is bigger than the football? He lets the biggest sports brand on earth answer that question for you. Every single time the doubters have taken a shot, Shedeur Sanders has responded not with words, but with facts, with numbers, with moves, with the kind of quiet, confident execution that makes critics look small in comparison. And the beautiful thing is, he's not even doing it to silence them. He's doing it because this is just how he operates. The haters are almost a side effect at this point. He's not even focused on them. He's too busy building an empire. The $100 million Nike deal isn't the destination. It's a checkpoint. It's one chapter in what is shaping up to be one of the most compelling careers in modern NFL history before the career has even properly started. And that's what keeps me coming back to the same question every single time I look at this story. What does this look like in 5 years? What does this look like when Shedeur has a full season of NFL tape, a playoff run, maybe a championship conversation starting to build? What does the Nike deal look like when the signature shoe drops and people are camping outside stores at 4 a.m. to get a pair? Because we already know what the appetite looks like right now, at the very beginning, before the real chapters have even been written. Bro, we are watching history in slow motion right now, and most people haven't even realized it yet. So let me leave you with this, and I genuinely want your honest take in the comments, because I think this is one of the most interesting debates in sports right now. Do you think Shedeur Sanders lives up to the $100 million Nike investment, or do you think the pressure of being Nike's next generational face could actually become the thing that weighs him down? There's no wrong answer here. I want the real conversation. Drop it below. And if you're the type who wants to know about the next big Shedeur moment before the rest of the internet wakes up, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, because this channel stays ahead of the story. Every time. The Shedeur era is just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to be the last one to know what comes next.